Welcome everyone, aspiring entrepreneurs, session 6. Today we'll talk about IT and it will be covered by Subhash, our own mentor, and Etienne, a guest mentor. Over to you, Subhash.
Thank you, Kumar, and welcome all for this session. I was telling Kumar, very important session because if you look at aspiring entrepreneurs can start business without too much of investment thanks to the technology what we have. And the brick and mortars times are over, and the more and more how we can save our resource, that's very important in the beginning. And when I saw the participants, I see many of you have IT background. I really appreciate interaction in this session because the slides, what we are presenting is a very basic slide, fundamentally because this is a platform we want to discuss and take it forward. So let me introduce myself. My name is Subhash Nambiar. I was worked in companies like IBM, Oracle as a VP technology, and now currently I'm heading a business for Asia Pacific in Japan for a company called Sauce Labs. It's a California-based headquartered company, fundamentally focusing on software testing. And I would like to introduce Etienne. Can you introduce yourself before we start the program?
Yeah, hello. So my name is Etienne Sillon. I'm based in Melbourne, and I'm actually working with Sauce Labs, with Subhash. And I've been working in IT since 1989. I think my first job in IT. So I do know quite a bit about about IT and software and all these things. So I'll try to do my best. Subhash asked me to help him with the technological side of it, so I'll do my best to assist.
Thank you, Etienne, and it's a good cause, and we want to welcome all the entrepreneurs and love to see all of them very, very successful in their endeavor. So why this format today was, I'm mostly from the business side, on the technical side. So we want a technical expert and also from the business. Both are very important. As a user, as a vendor, how do you feel? How do you expect? I keep getting emails from many companies, startups saying that, in LinkedIn and on my email. How do I react to that? And what attracts my attention? So there are some kind of an intelligence I'm going to share as an end customer. Etienne will share how technology can help. This is basic, so some of you may find very, very basic. So please, button, if you have some kind of information, don't hesitate to share, and I'll make it very, interactive today. Let's move on. Next slide. Right. So we call this as engine room. If you had seen last year, we presented a similar slide, and we are going to cover the one point which we didn't cover much here is on the software testing. I want to hear from you if it is important to you. We can show you a demo towards the end of this program. So there are 5 basic necessities. If you're starting a company, you need an email, you need a website, you need marketing technology, cybersecurity, and search engine optimization. So email, you all know that, yes, I have an email, but there are some do's and don'ts when you are starting a company compared to your, personal Gmail email. How do you project your company as a corporate company? Because on the cyber world, people won't know what's your size of your company. You need to make sure we've got some options for that. So we're going to talk about it. Let me do a quick call out from the team who are all there. Can you guys tell me this makes sense to cover or anything else you want to add in today's? So we're going to keep maybe 45 minutes to 1 hour presentation, and we will open up for a discussion. So let me hear from you before we start.
This looks good. Yeah. This looks good.
Sorry, can you repeat?
No, I said like this subjects, these 5 points look very good. Very important.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Anybody else? All right, let's jump on email. Thank you so much. And I think we will cover as and when there is, don't hesitate to talk to us. Okay, so email system, I will add, and after that, Etienne will start adding to this. Fundamentally, we have multiple, options available. Even in Gmail, if you look at Opportunities Australia, we have Gmail account, but it's not a gmail.com. We don't use it, right? So we use it as opportunityaustralia.com. So similarly, you can create your own email account. And in fact, when you start your name registered, GoDaddy.com or something like that, the email comes along with 1 or 2, you can add on top of it. So the first advice to you is don't use Gmail, start using the corporate in the next slide, you've got various options of email, what we have provided, you can add. And I want to hear anybody have started, some of you have got a company, travel company, some of you have got education institution. I would like to hear from you, what kind of an email you are using for your company and how is it useful? Some feedback from you will help us. So this is the free business email. You don't have to pay for it. You can use all these email IDs, which you can using your corporate ID. And anybody are using any of the emails for your companies, can you share your experience?
Hi, it's Emil here. I think we're currently, Vive is a well-being program, well-being classes. And I think the easy way we started was through Google, and obviously and using our own email, like, for example, email@vivelive.ai, and so on. And yeah, I think that was the most successful one. It's easy to use with Google because we're using Google Drive, we're using Google other things as well. So that was the fastest way to use.
So Emil, you're not paid for that, right? So how many email IDs you've got?
We pay actually, so maybe around 10.
10 mail IDs, how much approximately it costs you?
At least $20 a month.
$20 a month, it's not much. So you get 10 email IDs with a corporate name, with the data storage for you to use it. I think it's a great call. We can look at that for a new, so you need to have a device which allows or whatever. You need to have the corporate email ID for you. Etienne, you can add on top of this on the email account.
Yeah, I was just going to say, but to get your email ID with vive.com.au or something like this, you'd have to have the domain name first, right? Mm-hmm. So you had to get the domain name from somewhere, and then you went on Gmail to do this. So yeah, right. So that's one way of doing it. Otherwise, if you go, as Subhash was saying, and we'll look at that in a second, is when you get your domain name, so obviously you're going to have a website, right? And so you need a domain name like, mysite.com.au, something like this. And then some of these providers actually throw in some emails for free as well, right? So, and they also have like a whole platform to manage everything in the same spot. So that's one way of doing it. Or as you can do it as like this, get a Gmail account. Actually, for example, at Source Labs, we use Gmail, right? So my email address is etiennec@sourcelabs.com, but it's a Gmail account. Mm. And starting a Gmail account is pretty easy. I mean, you just go to this page, and you say, you want to create a Google account. Is it for myself or is it for to manage a business? And then you follow the questions, and then you end up with an email account. So I don't think we need to sell the importance of having emails. I'm pretty sure in 2022 everybody knows that you need emails. That's a very crucial thing, and especially if you want to be having some kind of marketing campaigns. How you're going to target your things. For example. My wife has her own business, and so I did have to go through pretty much everything that we're going to talk about today. About firstly getting the website up and running, and then getting emails, and then she wanted to have like some kind of a newsletter or something that reaching out to her customers for new offers and things like this via email. So. I'm a programmer, so I was able to write some code for her, because then the point with an email is that you're talking to an email server, and then you can have some software that actually automates, just like you go to Gmail, to have the email client, you can also have things that actually send mailing lists and things like this right for you. So that's another aspect.
So looks like Gmail can be a good starting point, and we consciously not promoting any products here. Idea is, people are quite simple. This is to use. So people are using Google. There are from free accounts, even for 10 accounts, you are charged only $20. It looks very fair, and you can look at this as an option for your company. And like Etienne said, domain registration, one of the popular one is GoDaddy.com. Maybe there are many other website registration, you can do it. But keep in mind, if you are charitable organization, probably you may have to use .org or something like that. Keep in mind what the extension you are going to keep it. Corporate, you use .com, .au, whatever you feel like. That's a website here. Go ahead, Etienne. You had some topics on that too.
I was just, you were talking about the domain name. So obviously the domain name is very linked to your website. It's basically how. You need to register. Like if you want to start a business, one of the things that you obviously you want to find the name of your business, But then you have to make sure that you can find a domain name that's actually available, right? So you can go to, for example, for my wife, we used Cheaper Domain, I think, but there's also a GoDaddy, and you actually type in there the name of your business that you want, and it tells you what is available. If you can have a .org or a .com or a .com.au, and there's different prices for each of these. So that's the first thing. The first thing is to actually get the domain name, right? So how is your website going to be called? Then how the people are going to be able to access it? But then obviously you need some content in there, right? So that actually is about, so you guys probably all know this, but so the websites are all based on very simple technology. So it's, firstly it's HTTP, and so it's an internet protocol, hypertext protocol, and then on top of that, your website is basically just a file, right? It's an HTML file, which is basically an encoding of how you want your website to look like, and it's pretty simple. And you can go to things like W3 School, which is a very good place to get started if you want to build your website yourself. Or again, if you go to GoDaddy or what's it called? The other ones, Cheaper Domains, they have things to build your website yourself. One of the most famous place to start for a website is WordPress, right? So they have a whole interface where you can go and they have templates, they have everything in there. There's lots of tutorials. You go on YouTube and you can just Google it, and it's going to tell you how to build a website in minutes, right? Yeah, so that's a very popular way to do the website. If you're a bit more adventurous and you want to learn a bit more and you want a bit more control about what you want to do, you can try to do it yourself, right? You can just go to learn HTML. It's very easy. It's not very complicated, and it's very good to because then you're in complete control of your website. Right? The thing with things like WordPress is it gets complicated really quickly. Like you can use a little template and you can change the pictures and do the things. But it can get a little complicated at some stage, and you don't have a lot of control of exactly how things work, right? It's a bit like Word. Right? If you use Word, you can type a document, and all of a sudden, it doesn't align properly. You can't really do anything about it, right? You have to put the right codes in there, and you don't have a lot of control. Whereas if you start learning HTML and do it yourself, you have complete control about how these things are going to work.
Excellent. So anybody in the team are using any website builders? Can you guys share some of your experience, please?
I've tried WordPress and Squarespace. I haven't completed anything. I just start, it gets a bit too much and then I stop. But that's good information to know that maybe they're more complicated in the long run and I should look for different avenues.
So Etienne, what do you think they should look at? Because you said it's complicated. Are there any other options we have?
No, so yeah. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's complicated. So it's pretty easy to get started, right? And there's a lot of tutorial, but it depends how complicated you want your website to look like, right? If you're just happy to reuse a template that's already there, then you can just do that very quickly. And there's lots of great templates. You just have to go to the website and you say, I want that one. You change the picture, you change the wording. It's very easy, but it's not very creative. You're not going to distinguish yourself much by using a template that everybody else is using, right? So if you want to do something a bit more complicated, this is when it gets a lot harder to do things with out-of-the-box products like WordPress or the website builders, like for example. So this is GoDaddy, and same thing they have. Create your free website. It's the same thing. You use a template and you can change them and everything. Same with these guys. They also have free website builders. And this is what I was telling you. If you want to find out if your domain name is available, you just put your name in here and you click search, and they're going to tell you if the name is available or if you have to pick some other name, right? And what's a little annoying with this is that a lot of people have bought a lot of domain names, right? So for example, if you look for, sneakers.com.au, for example, it's probably going to be taken. All the names, the common names that people could think that somebody's going to, at some stage, would want to build a website about, the people went out and bought a lot of websites for cheap, and then they're trying to resell them to you. So that's a little annoying. That's one thing to keep in mind.
Okay, so Etienne,
I had a quick question on that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Subhash. Sorry to interrupt you there. This was, I had my hand raised for something with regards to the email, which I'll come to later on. But just to share with regards, I did hear you guys put up a few names around the domain registries. So far, I have in the past few years used Crazy Domains. Any feedback on that? Specifically, if you have had any experiences, specifically what worked for me, because I was price sensitive as I was starting off. Crazy Domains really took the candy there because they had really competitive prices. The other bit was their website builder as well and their email hosting. It was all integrated as a one-stop shop. And I understand exactly what Arungwat was saying, that it starts off with a nice little exciting drag and drop, and then it just starts getting into a rabbit hole that you can't come out. I remember someone actually mentioned in the chat as well, Jennifer, I think Wix, which is another good thing as well, which I haven't personally looked into it. WordPress, I do something called my own personal blog, so I didn't have to really develop it much, but I don't know how much of WordPress with limited IT knowledge would help in developing a website. So I'll be happy to for you to kind of share that information. In website specifically, my question at the moment is that, you know how you mentioned, Etienne, that you've got your Google accounts. What is the cost at this stage, what Google is charging? I do understand until 2013 or 14, they were offering it for free. But the accounts have now become charged. And is it the same for not-for-profits? Because I've heard that they actually do free accounts still for not-for-profits, but they only charge the business accounts. Etienne, your call on that.
We get it for free, actually. So we get probably up to 10,000 accounts. So, we won't get to that far probably, ever. But yeah, we get it for free from Google.
And what documentations had to submit? Do you had to share with Google for them to approve, or how do they quantify your claim?
Charity status, DGR, all the charity details. Not so much of it. So as long as you show that you have registered with ACNC, you have registered with Fair Trading, and then DGR, like that's just something on top of that. As long as you are a registered charity.
Fair enough. So in the corporate side of things, Etienne, would you like to share what is the current cost with Google? But Ellis' thing would look pretty impressive. He said that $2 an account is amazing to start with.
Yes.
Emil, sorry, my bad. Emil, I'd love to know where you're using it. And Etienne, please, if you can let us know what's the Google cost at the moment.
So I have no idea. So because with First Labs, we have a whole we have a whole IT team, and they all set that up. So I don't know, I don't know how much it costs at all.
One of the participants mentioned it is $20 for 10 accounts. So per month.
Is it still Google? Is he mentioning? Sorry, I might have missed that. Emil, did you mention you're with Google?
Yes. Yeah, it's with Google, but we're using the Google Drive and other things with Google Drive and sharing and privacy.
Yep.
So it's actually $20, around $20 per account, not per the 10 accounts.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That makes more sense now. Yep. Because $20 and $20 for 10 accounts would have been a bargain. I would have jumped now.
But so I guess the point then is that you get a Gmail account, which means you get access to all the other,
the Drive and the workspace and everything.
Like if you want that, I guess it's a very good option. If you don't need that, obviously, if you already have a Microsoft Suite, for example, all the Microsoft Office, for example. If you don't, go with Google and you get all the the sheets and all these different things. But like again, if you go with this cheaper domain or the other ones, you actually get emails for free, right? They're for free. They include it as part of your package. So you get, because even if you go with Google, you're still gonna have to have a domain registration, right? So you're still gonna have to go somewhere to get your domain registered, and you're gonna have some hosting, right? So there's a cost for hosting, and how much data you're gonna need, right? How much storage space you're gonna need, and then usually with that they throw in a couple of they throw in a few email accounts, and you get a nice interface that you log on to. Again, for me, I can talk about cheaper domains. I just log on to cheaper domains and I can manage everything in there, right? And I have just one thing to pay as opposed to 3 different things.
True.
So that's the way I've been doing it for my wife's business. So somebody in the chat said they use Wix. I've never used Wix, but it's a good product as well.
I'd love to know a little more about Wix because I've heard it's a nice drag and drop sort of a interface. So if Jennifer, I don't know, I don't want to put you on spot, but if you do like to share what your experience has been with it.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I have been problems with my connection. So actually, I'm using Wix because it's easy to use. Also, I can, pay for the domain. So it's perfect for when people is looking for me.
Right.
But I installed last week, so I don't know much about that, but definitely it was for me. I like that.
Yeah, cool. And somebody else was asking, to look professional, what titles should we have?
Yeah, I can answer that. In fact, that's a very good question, Ray. Thank you very much for that. Before we move to the next, I'm going to jump some topics before we reach there, because during the website building, you need to look at how you get an inbound leads. Because in a social marketing, you've got outbound and inbound. While your website, if I am the user, I would like to go to your website to see what you have in the product. The moment I get to know that you are into some kind of a product, I would like to have inbound subscription or email or a form, which is what we do. You fill up quickly if you're interested in my product. Some 4 or 5 questions we ask, you fill it up, and then that is captured internally as an inbound lead. So keep in mind, when you're building a website, keep options for taking the email ID of the person who are visiting your website and to know more about your product, but that's a primary touch point for your external customers. Plus, if you have a form, 3 or 4, understanding how do we shortlist the customers to which products you are selling or services you're selling, that will help you. So keep in mind when you're building a website, keep options for these 2 things when they reach. That's an inbound option for you. Apart from that, what designation you use? Normally, when you do outbound, when you send, our BD team doesn't use as a BD team or a sales team. It's suggested that you're addressing the problem of customers. So you're solving some problem. Prefer to pick it up like a sales support engineer or a customer success manager, something like that. Don't use CEO, MD who's sending an email. There are so many I get in LinkedIn, 10, 15 every day, that I'm interested in sharing my marketing activities, which I may not open because it doesn't interest me unless it is relevant and I'm looking for some kind of a solution. So keep in mind, don't use fancy designation when you're doing an outbound email. Keep very simple and not as a salesy title, because most of these sales title emails, people don't open it up because they think that it is a campaign. So you have to be creative. I don't know what product you're using. Keeping on that, how will you open an email which is addressing your problem? It's supposed to be opened by the person whom you are sending. So keep that in mind. So that's a good question. Sorry, go ahead, Etienne, about the social media. This is actually my topic. In fact, I have got some my own using. I'm using actually my BD team. Of course, Facebook, if you look at my marketing team, has told me that the hit rate in Facebook is quite good, but it keeps changing now. You see that Instagram, a lot of people, and depends on what population, what type of people you're reaching out. That's important. Then you decide which is the product. For example, if most of the makeups and those things are sold, marketing activities on Instagram, blogs, and things like that. And Facebook general, if you look at corporate cloud and software selling, Facebook, in fact, I was surprised that CIOs definitely go and visit Facebook, and more than 2% hit rate on marketing is good. So that's what we have been getting. So you have to keep open and you try it out in all. LinkedIn, for example, it's a paid LinkedIn Navigator. It's worth the money. You can buy that LinkedIn Navigator that gives you a lot of inside information from the customers or whom you want to address. We have outbound products called Outreach, which is again a paid thing, or SalesLoft, Zoom Info, and LinkedIn Navigator. You can pick and choose, but these are all paid services. What it gives you is the profiling of your customer. So what we do, we go profile your customer based on the designation. It can be VP technology or CTO or testing manager, whoever is relevant to you, who will read your email, profile them first, make a list of customers with the email ID you get if you are using all this product, which I told you, create a campaign. The campaign is going to be, you can actually make it personalized. It's not a generic email. That means you create a campaign with the body of the letter is, most of you may know it. Create a standard email, send it across to 300, 400 people, but that will go as a personalized email. There are tools for that. We use Outreach for that. And then it goes from your mailbox. The person opens it up. You will know that he's read your mail. Then the second email goes to them as a follow-up saying that I know you've gone through my mail. Is it interesting? Do I need to give you some information about my product more? There are definitely a spam mail is not good because people will delete and it doesn't look good on your corporate. You got to go through a personalized email with a target audience whom you think it's very relevant to you. Believe me, most of the people who are looking for a solution in that area will appreciate and open up your email. So you need to be very smart here. Don't send hundreds of emails just like that. Your hit rate will be very low and that will become a pain for, it looks like a spam company. So these are all investments you need to do. Be technical. One person is good enough. I have 1 or 2 BDRs who are doing a phenomenal job in reaching out the right people who are interested in buying my product. So similarly, Outreach, SalesLoft, ZoomInfo, LinkedIn Navigator, keep this in mind, go through it, see whether you can afford to buy those things. Be smart in reaching out to your customer. Apart from that, please advertise. May not be paid advertisement, but be there in social media like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Need not be your own product about relevant in your industry. You want to talk about it. You should be noticed. If you look at LinkedIn, I am also in LinkedIn. And if I want to post it, I use it very scarcely and I use it very effectively. More than 30,000 people. The view is in 5 minutes, you get so many views because it's very powerful platform. Please leverage all this social media marketing, plus be smart on doing your outbound activities. Don't forget your inbound, because people miss out the inbound because people visit the website after all these advertisements, but you're not able to capture them. So you lose out on a customer. So you need to run a very tight ship because initially as an entrepreneur, you won't have too much of resource. So you need to think smartly. Don't lose out on even a single customer who's reaching out to you inbound. Reach out to them outbound. Have social media without paying too much of money. These are all fantastic opportunity we have currently, which was not there 10, 15 years back. So if you have the right product, right customers, I think you have to be very smart to do all these things. Etienne, you want to add anything to this?
No, nothing in particular. I'm not a social media expert. But I think the same message applies for email marketing as well. I think one of the best advice I got some time ago was if you want people to read your emails, firstly, don't bombard them with emails because it's, and every time they need to basically look forward to your email. They need to look like, if I click on this email or this, thing, I'm going to learn something. This is something that's going to be valuable to me. If they think, if you send them already 10 emails, or 10, things on Facebook or whatever, and they don't get anything particular interesting in it, they're going to stop opening them. Whereas if you send less things, but every time you send something, you really thought about it, and you said, this is something that the people who would be interested in my product would like to learn about, right? It doesn't have to be exactly about your product, but it has to be something that they're going to learn something from, and they're going to be, next time you send them email, they're going to be opening it because they expect that they're going to learn some more. Right, so I think that's an advice that I got, and I thought that was worth it.
Anybody else want to share any of your experience?
I just mentioned plugging in Streak into the email, so I have done that to our Google account, so that provides the read receipt, which is good.
Excellent, thank you, Kumar, for that. And also the last line, which says the email marketing laws are important, and not only that. When you call your customer, some of you may think that you can record the conversation, which is not legally allowed without informing the person who's listening to you that you're recording the conversation. So keep these things in mind. Don't make small mistakes, which is relevant, what is required as per the law. So let's move on to anybody else want to share any of your experience in email marketing? Any doubts, any questions you want to ask? Please go ahead.
So just a quick question on this one. Over a period of time, what happens is that the emails that you use for outbound, or even like one of your parent contact emails on your website, they tend to attract a lot of spam over a period of time because it's being showed. So what's been your way of, is there a cheat sheet around it, or is there a spam filter? What's your way of doing things?
So what happens is, fundamentally, don't think that you are going and begging them for business. So if you do that, then you won't be able to sell. You think it is he needs your product. When you think from that angle, let me take an example of my own product. Software testing is a very crucial part of any CTO. Now, he can't go to market without doing a testing. Now, he's struggling to see, because nowadays, most of the CIO, CTO take decision before even a sales guy reaches to them, or because they are overwhelmed with information. They go browse, they understand. In fact, my inbound is not even talking to them. They come to my website and search because they would have done email. That's one of the topic we are covering today, optimization, and they come and see our website. The moment he comes to my website, I know that the person is looking at some kind of a software testing tool, and I've got a breadth of 5 products. One of them will meet one of his requirements. So one part is you're reaching out the right audience. If you send, let me take an example of a software product for a manufacturing guy who's more interested in buying something else. It's no relevance. So he may not, that becomes a spam. But if you're able to shortlist a person who's really interested, that's how if you see there are some intelligence in Facebook, when you say that I want to go to holiday to Switzerland, suddenly you see in your Facebook travel agents giving you messages of a cheap trip to Switzerland.
Targeting,
yeah. So target marketing, it's there. Similarly, when you are sending it, you can't do that. Initially, it's very expensive.
How do you prevent your email landing up in somebody's spam folder automatically? I mean, because sometimes I've seen that we had to actually call up our clients and say, you need to whitelist us because our emails are going directly into your spam folder for some reason. How do you prevent that on the onset?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. What we do is we use Outreach or Salesloft, wherein it's not a mass emailing. That means we put the name of the person in inverted comma, and the body of the letter is same for everybody. And we can include their names in between quote, unquote. Now, the email is so intelligent. The name, let's say, Kumar is the person, and there are Etienne, and there are 556. I just send the mail to 300 people. I don't have to send Dear Kumar. So it comes as Dear Kumar or Dear Etienne because I put it on inverted comma. The software is able to send the email. So it doesn't go as a spam. I'm calling him Dear, not Sir or Madam. I call them with the name Dear Kumar. This is relevant to, and in between I will say, Opportunities Australia. So you'll read as if you have sent this mail personalized to him, which is not, because I would have done a mass mailing of 500 people because I don't have time to write individual mails, right? So these are
will the recipient inbox spam filter mark be able to identify that?
No, they are not identifying because the subject line will be relevant to you. Again, we will put it something similar to your Opportunities Australia. You're looking for this, some solution for you, something like that. So it's very smartly worded in such a way it attracts his attention. It doesn't go to spam. But if you send it to some 100 people or 1,000 people, not put changing anything, just put an email ID and drag and drop, it goes to spam automatically. It's intelligent to shift it. I even get it in my Sauce Lab account. Some of the customers send it to me. I don't know how it lands up similar to what I'm using it. And again, it need not go to spam because it may be relevant to them because you are identifying very targeted customers. So they will appreciate these mails. There are many responses also there.
Okay.
Anybody else want to add any experiences?
Just to clarify,
I just wanted to add about the mail merge feature available with Excel and Outlook. Have you had any experience in using that tool, and would that also lead to any our email going to spams?
I've not tried. Maybe Etienne, do you have any experience of that?
No.
Okay, so I've tried mail merge, with my office, the way I run program in my current company, I use mail merge to send it to multiple recipients. So far I'm doing well, but from my own company perspective, I was just thinking if I'm going to be using the mail merge feature itself, I was just concerned about if it's really going to lead my email going to the spam folder for the recipients. But yeah, I think that.
Okay. Yeah.
To the email spamming, did you say you need to write their name on the subject line, or where?
So what you do here with mail merge, you just prepare a spreadsheet, and you just in each column you have the names, and the other column will have the email address. What Outlook does is that it picks up that Excel sheet, and that is when you mail merge it, and then the Outlook picks up one by one, and then it sends individual emails to those recipients.
Okay.
One by one, automatically. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That's good. Let's move on with your next slide. Cybersecurity, Etienne, your subject.
Well, yeah, I'm not a cybersecurity expert, but I mean, a lot of people are aware of there's a lot of bad stuff happening on the internet, and there's a lot of people are out there to try to get as much information they can from you and from your data and from your customers. So the point is you need to protect yourself. You need to be very clever about how you set up all your accounts and all your passwords and things like this. And again, with emails, what emails you and what links you click on. And it's getting really ridiculous. Like, for example, I'm expecting a new deliveries, right? You never know if they're real or they're fake. I'm actually expecting some deliveries from Amazon, and I never know if I'm going to click on the link or not, because I don't know if it's a real one or it's a fake one. So, one of the basic things to do is to find out which email address the things are coming from. So that's one of the first things you can do. But yeah, there's a lot of bad people out there trying to get, to steal stuff from you online. And there's not, there's a lot of things that you can protect yourself. Obviously, there's antivirus, but there's things like malware, right? So if you click one of those links in these emails, you can actually download some software, some viruses, some trojans, things like this that gets installed in your laptop, and then you lose complete control. I was working for a company called Nuance Communications before, and we did have some guy, and we're all working in IT, so we're all very clever about things like this. And still, we managed to have a ransomware on our machine, right? So a lot of the laptops and actually servers were impacted, and all of a sudden, on a particular day, the screens turn black, and there's a thing saying if you don't pay that kind of this kind of money to these particular accounts, we're gonna wipe everything up all of these computers. And that was very, very serious. When it happens in a corporate environment.
Sorry, Etienne. Somebody has to be on mute, please. We could hear that. Thank you. Yeah. So Etienne, just to add, nowadays you can look at cloud service providers who takes care of all this cybersecurity part. If you are in their cloud infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service is an option for you instead of having your own servers and server farm. Those days are gone. So you can scale and scale up and scale down when you want to. When your business grows, you can keep building up on the cloud, and they also have a DR setup for you, so you don't have to worry about if there are any.
That's great, but you still have a laptop, right? You're still gonna have to access those virtual machines. You're gonna have to set them up, and most people are gonna be doing that from a laptop. And if you have something on your laptop that you downloaded that's ransomware or something like this, you're still stuffed. So the best thing to do is to have a look at these things. There's a lot of stuff from the Australian government, for example, and Australian government is investing a lot in cybersecurity. So there's a lot of information available on lots of different websites, like, for example, this one, the Australian Cybersecurity Center. And, I recommend anybody who's going to be, touching a computer at some stage to have a look at what's happening and the latest, threats about cybersecurity. Again, I'm not a cybersecurity expert, but that's I think each one of us has to become one at some stage. So.
Yeah. So let's. Anybody wants to share anything on this subject?
Has anybody been impacted by this? No, that's good.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Well, actually, I feel like and this is on the phones as well, not just computers, because these hackers are getting real smart, but sending text messages regarding packages, Phone calls threatening that they're from the ATO, emails, really random emails all the time that would like for you to click onto them. I really don't know. I'm probably hacked, who knows? But so far, so good. My computer's functioning, but I feel like it's just everywhere all the time.
Yeah. And it's really annoying, especially with things like, you're saying for deliveries like Amazon, if you expect, you get so many texts from you never know which one's going to be real or which one's going to be fake. So I don't click on anything these days. Like, I just.
In fact, you call up, let's take an example of ANZ Bank. There are any issues, immediately inform them. They'll help you to clean up your system. In fact, you have to call up Apple, and they have from their support center, they will help you to scan your mobile or laptop and then clean your system. If you have gone through this problem, inform them. They will help you to clean your system because that's important. Okay, let's move on. Search engine optimization. Of course, this is quite expensive. Etienne, you can cover it. If I need, I can add on to this actually.
Yeah, well, so basically search engine optimization, I think everybody knows what that is, but it's about updating the content and what you put on your website so you can, which determines how you're gonna be ranked on Google, right? So there's a lot of things. It's pretty complicated, but everything you put in your website is going to be used by Google algorithms to determine where you fit and how close you are to answer the questions that people put on the search bar, right? So it gets a bit complicated because there's nobody knows what the Google algorithms do because that's very proprietary and they don't actually do that. But there's you can actually learn a lot about it. For example, if you go on this page on Google, you can actually completely learn about, if you don't know anything about it, actually, there's a whole training, there's a whole course about that on Google. And it's really, it's all about, the point is that you need to put as much information on everything. So for example, if you put a picture on your website, right, you need to have a tooltip on the picture because that's going to be used again to, if you put a picture without anything, Google doesn't know anything about that picture. If you put a picture with a tooltip, then they're going to find out, okay, it's a picture about flowers, right? So now it's my ranking when somebody searches for flowers is going to be a bit higher. Whereas if I don't put a tooltip on the picture, Google doesn't know there's flowers on my website, right? So that's just a very, very simple example. You can put comments again, it depends if you're building the website yourself or if you're building the website with Wix or WordPress or any of these things. If you do it yourself, you have more control. Even with WordPress and things like this, you have to make sure you fill in as much detail about every component on your website to maximize your score on the SEO thing. You can also do things like Google AdWords and things like that, but that's you have to pay for that. Yep. And you have to say for this particular words, I want to come up on the searches when people are using these words. And you can do campaigns as well. It gets a little involved, but it's not.
So Kumar, I think you have done this for Opportunities Australia. Can you share some of your experience of how do we improve our visibility? Because you've done a fantastic job for Opportunities Australia.
That's a difficult job. Well, thanks for putting it in my court. In terms of visibility, social media. So I have gone all the social media. Am I on the right track?
So what we're talking about here is how you can put stuff in your website so you can come up on the search on Google, right? So if
sure.
People Google how to become an entrepreneur in Australia, how is your website going to relate to that, right?
Sure.
So what you can put in your website to come up on that search.
So I looked for keywords. So I have created the website on Squarespace, and there is a small SEO section in there. So you can populate all the right words. So I have just put in the keywords, say, for example, charity in Sydney, charity in Australia, all the keywords which is going to highlight, bring it all back to home, make Opportunities Australia more searchable, bring it to the search results. And we were in competition with Opportunities Australia International, so had to put in just the right words there. So if people put in Opportunities Australia International won't just show up in the first place. So just keying in all the right words there in the back of the SEO. And also for any post that we put on social media, at the back of pictures, there are room for hashtags. So, just trying to put in just selective hashtags. So it would be able to point to Opportunities Australia. So we have created a hashtag for Opportunities Australia, which sits on the website. And anytime we post on social media, we just put in the hashtag. So everything, all the scattered, if I say, or the various promotions that we get to do, they're all pointed to the website. So the more mentions that you get to have on different websites about Opportunities Australia, same hashtag, the more connections Google gets to find, SEO gets to find, and that improves your ranking on Google search. So that's what we have been doing so far. And we use that on the social media and then third-party websites as well, if possible. Think so far.
Any questions from the participants? Anything you want to share?
What impact does the metadata on a photograph has on its SEO ranking?
Well, from Mike's, everything I've read about it is that saying that you should put the metadata in every component, including especially pictures, because again, if it's a picture of flowers, they're not using machine learning to find out, what is the content of the picture. They're just having a look at, is there a tag on this picture, and then that adds a bit of a keyword for you automatically.
It's interesting because Facebook apparently does not require that. I've actually put up for Facebook's, but their descriptions actually have pretty livid way of kind of explaining the photograph without even putting any metadata. So I was wondering how Google treats metadata so differently to Facebook.
Yeah, so I don't know about Facebook. But I know that for Google, it's actually important to have like metadata tags on everything.
Thanks.
Right. So let's move to the next slide. All right. So this is general. Okay, go ahead. And it's actually basically we are covering all. These are all required. Maybe not immediate, but these are the tools which, in fact, when I open my Okta, we have Salesforce. We have not the secure page that's in my website. We've got collaboration suite. We got everything what is there on my one single sign-on page. Similarly, for you and your employees, it's better to build your complete system, not immediate, but keeping in 5 years down the line how you want to do a collaborative single sign-on platform. Don't buy bits and pieces of software for immediate usage. Think a roadmap of IT, because I've seen it become so difficult to integrate multiple platforms at a later stage. So keep that in mind, what you're going to do, what are the products you're going to keep in mind, and how are you going to grow so that your integration becomes easier, because suddenly you will see that you've grown much bigger than you have to revamp your entire IT system, which is going to be very expensive and time consuming. So currently you may not use it, but keep an eye on your future IT roadmap. So that's a smarter way to build your company. Etienne, you can add on this.
Well, I don't have a lot to add on this. I think for me, if you're starting a business, you probably do need things like, spreadsheets and things like that, which again, we discussed, you can have that from Google if you get a Google account. Obviously, the other thing is Microsoft Office, which is great. Most people know how to use it, but it's not free. I think maybe you can get it for free for some things, like if you're a student or something, you can get it for free or for cheap. But mostly it's actually pretty expensive. So I think the better version would be Google G Suite, right? Obviously, you can get access to all the same exact thing, but it's online. You don't even have to install anything on your machine, and then you can manage list of customers. You can do a lot of things. You can, create presentation. I know that for my wife's website, we use Canva a lot. Canva is a lot if you want to be, doing lots of graphics and things. It's very easy to do, all the graphics, basically drag and drop. And it's a web interface. You can get a free account for quite a while. And so that's what we've been doing. So I think, there's two steps. there's when you start from zero, you're gonna need basic things like, again, Microsoft Office or Google G Suite and things like, to be able to create the content, right? It's going to be mostly about creating content initially and managing lists of customers and things like that. Well, I think what Subhash is talking about is a bit later down the track, when you need things to, for example, for your, to manage how your customers are going to pay, how you're going to manage all these things. It depends what kind of business you have, I guess. And then making sure that everything you do is somehow integrated, and that you don't buy something that's then causes you a problem down the track because it doesn't work with something else. So yeah, that's yeah. And also obviously accounting, right? So I know I'm using my own stuff for accounting. I wrote the program myself, but I'm sure using things like Xero or something like this is probably what most people are doing right now.
Great.
Another thing, though, I know that initially when my wife starting a business, we were with ANZ Bank, and we had like a credit card machine, and we had to pay a lot of fees for this. But now she's using Square, right? And this is, I mean, the fintech industry has completely revolutionized what's happening. Like, dealing with banks initially was involving a lot of fees, a lot of red tape and things like this. Now you just go to a shop, you buy the little Square thing, and everything's ready, and you're ready to take credit cards, and the fees are completely ridiculous compared to what you would pay with a bank. So if you have that kind of business, I would definitely recommend the new fintech solutions as opposed to dealing with a real bank.
All right. Any questions on this?
Between Office 365 and Google Suite, specifically in regards to Google Sheets as against Excel, functionality-wise, what's your experience been? I mean, that's one of the reasons why sometimes, though you want to choose one over the other, you're kind of stuck because the MS Office is so superior over Google Sheets and Google Word and stuff.
Well, I think, for me, I've been using Microsoft Office for 30 years, something like this, so that'll be my first choice. Google Sheets and all the documents and stuff, I've been using. I don't use it much. The only difference is that I think it's more important if you want to do collaboration, like, you can have multiple people using the same. I mean, this is something with Microsoft Office 365. I think the main difference is obviously Microsoft Office has much more functionality than, like earlier we were talking about merging the Outlook and Excel and things like this. There's a lot of synergy between all the products on Microsoft Office. I think Google are trying to do the same thing, but obviously the price point is a lot cheaper for Google than Microsoft. So that would be, I think, the difference is, if you really want to do something very, very complicated, go with Microsoft Office. If you really want to do something basic and for cheap, go with Google. That would be my advice there.
All right, that's all we have today. We would like to open it up for any other slides left, Etienne. That's all right?
Yep, that's it.
Yep. So we will open it up, Kumar. Maybe we can see all of them there on the video. We can have an interaction session, and I would like encourage them to participate and share their experience with other participants. Maybe that's a good idea. Thank you. I hope the session was useful. Any other questions? Please open it up.
I think I'll shut up now because I've had too many already.
In terms of SEO or marketing, I would like to ask the entrepreneurs, how do you do the SEO? Just start with that. Would like to go first?
I'd have to say I'm on ground zero. Every once in a while I do a Google of my name, and my pages are racking up. So it's really time to get onto that, especially because I want to position my business in a way where I'm delivering a service. People have to know about it. So I'm still in the stages of trying to develop my website, of trying to get myself to post on the regular on social medias, and to really package everything that I am doing, because I'm doing a lot of things, but nobody really knows unless I tell you. So I'm trying to kind of get my online presence going. So zero, I'm nowhere yet.
But you've started, you're posting on a daily basis, etc. And you got a website?
No, so that's what I'm working on now. I'm working on the website, working on my logo. I do not post every day. I post here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, still working on all of it.
Wix thing, is Wix website free? I
Yeah,
think
it is.
now. So those people who don't have the website like yourself, Padang, would maybe just start a presence from there and build it up.
Yeah.
I understood that it's not free because you can build the website for free, but when it comes to hosting, you have to pay. Sorry, I'll be happy to be corrected. Sorry.
Hosting. So you'll have to just pay for hosting now, which is a little bit of money. Is that correct, Etienne?
Yeah, but then you can use all the so the point of the website is you're gonna have it's a domain name, really, right? So you have to register the domain name with some entity, and there's only a few people who do that. So and then when they provide the domain name, then they're probably gonna provide hosting as well, and then this is where you can have the free email and things like this. So yeah, so the point is to start with the domain name and the hosting solution. And it's not usually free, right? Some of them are free, but then you don't get your own domain name. You can get a website hosted, but you're not going to get your name that you want, right? You're going to get something at WordPress.com or something like that. You're not going to get your domain name itself. You have to pay something to get the domain name.
Which is not a big amount, really.
No, it's not. It's not really at all. And then if you get that, you can get the hosting together as well, get some storage. You can set, and then usually you can have a website builder, a basic website builder for free as well.
So what's the minimum cost there? To
something like $30 a year or something like this. Like if I go to cheaper.com.
That's a good cost for, I mean.
Yeah, some of them are it depends. It depends on the name of the URL you're going to get. So the domain name, some domain names are more expensive than others. If you do a .com.au, it's pretty cheap usually. If you want .com, sometimes they're more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a .ai, it's even more expensive.
Yeah. And for the people who have got charity, like Tawfiq, Sahara already has a website. So for charity is .org.au, so which is quite unique. It's just only for Australia. And that would cost you probably $20 or something per year. So not too expensive.
Did you say .org is only for Australia?
.org.au, I suppose. I mean, it goes, AU. Because org goes overseas as well, yeah.
I had a very bad experience with my website a while ago. So it's all toned down. It's ground zero once again for me. Experience in the sense like I had a marketing team and their backend was back in India. So there was a conflict of interest between the programming team back in India and the front facing. So they took my website away, all my contents, everything. I couldn't even do anything. I had my email inbox, everything set up. It was going on for 6-7 months, and then it was boom, it was gone.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll be very apprehensive, like to engage anyone from overseas in this regards anymore. Once bitten, twice shy. Whatever I do in regards with website, it will be local, and even though I had to pay a little bit more, I would still trust Australia in regards to that.
I'm not an IT guy, really. I build up website on Squarespace, which is WordPress. So they already have structures in place and the codes, etc. All you have to do is to populate the website. They also have design more so.
No, they used to manage my Insta account, my Facebook account, all those things. So it was all going till it went belly up. So it's ground zero for me. In regards with the website, I just had one more question. is the scalable, like while we are talking about the websites on the desktop or the laptop, will that be available? Like, would that fit into the smartphones? Because most of us are using the smartphones. So whichever makes or like wherever we are building the website, do we need to have any technology, any expertise in doing that kind of configuration?
Well, so if you're doing it yourself, if you're hacking the HTML and the CSS and everything yourself, you'd have to be very careful about that. But if you're using things out of the box like WordPress or these website builders, they're already taking care of that for you.
Right.
So all the CSS they use, because basically for a website there's two parts. There's the HTML, which describes the content. Like you say, I want to put an image here, I want to put the title here, I want to put a paragraph here, and you put some codes around the text. That's it. But then there's another file called the CSS, which is a style sheet, which describes how you want to things to look, right? And so this is a bit more complicated thing. And so you can say any title, I want them to be large in the center and in red, for example. And so you just have to put title in the thing and it's going to come up like that. So this is where you have to be very careful with the CSS that is going to match when is going to be adapting to the fact that you're going to be looking at that site on the web, on the mobile phone or on a real big screen.
Right. So Bobby, one more learning from your experience is you didn't have a backup of whatever your content you put on the website, or?
Not local. I do have. What they did was that they just changed that. They took my domain itself. So there was. I went for GoDaddy. I went for Crazy Domain for the hosting and the domain creation. But the team, and I gave them the complete admin rights to manage my show. So I trusted them. So there was a big issue there.
So two learning. One is never give your domain name to any outsourcing, even if it is Australia or India or anywhere else. Mm-hmm. Because it's very simple. Yearly, you have to renew your domain as an admin. Nothing to do other than that, right? So you own it. Second thing is keep a backup of your content, which is more important, because creating next website is easy for you if you don't have. But if you have a backup of your content, you can create it in a week's time. That shouldn't be a problem, because it takes a lot of time to make that content.
Yep, I do have all the software, like, because I'm a motivational speaker. I talk on the stage. I do have all the soft copies, the video files. I can always write, because I do have so to respond back to Kumar's SEO question, yes, I do have my YouTube channel, which I'm managing by myself right now. Every day I post one video. So yes, my name, if we Google there, it is there on LinkedIn as well as on YouTube, Facebook. So yeah, yes, a lot of lessons that I've learned. Yes, I have learned a lot of lessons.
Super.
And another question. Now I have another question. Now we spoke about website, we spoke about cybersecurity. My business that I'm planning right now, initially, like, it was all website and like all these things. But my business I'm thinking about is application development. So it would be on various platforms that it's a free download. So I'm going to build those applications. And do I need a website in that case? Is the question.
Yes, if you're building up, you are going to host it in mobile, or it's going to be a browser-based?
It would be on mobile, smartphones as well as iPads, all those platforms. Yeah.
Maybe Etienne, you can even show a quick demo if you have it with you on the mobile products what we have for testing.
Yeah, that's just for testing. It's not about building the application. And so I can show you what we do. Basically, what we do is, once you build your website or your native app, it's easy for you to test it on your laptop, or it's easy for you to test it on your mobile phone. But there's a lot of different types of screens and lots of different mobile phones that people have. If you want to make sure that your website is going to work on all the mobile phones, then you can use things like what we do, like Source Labs, which is basically you can run a test, or you can jump on Source Labs and say, I want to see how my website is going to look on the latest iPhone, and then you go and you can have a quick look like this.
Right. So question is, while I am talking about apps, also, there are a lot of contents that will be uploaded and downloaded by the content creators and downloaded by people around the globe. So it has to be scalable. You know, the data storage and all those things, it has to be scalable, absolutely, and it is global. So when it goes global, like you don't know how many people are going to download it. Like after 5-10 years, it might be in millions, like around the globe. So it's a very unique concept that I'm trying to launch here, and which will definitely create ripples around the globe. So that's what.
Bobby, what we do normally is in a cloud environment, there are two methods. One is upfront, you pay them, this is the storage I need.
Mm-hmm.
Second is I will pay as and when there is a requirement. Now the pricing is definitely different. If you have a scalable model, you may have to pay a little more yearly consumption. So they calculate based on the consumption you do on it, and they will allow you to use as much space you want, infrastructure as a service. You can choose any cloud provider. It can be Google, Amazon, or Oracle kind of cloud companies. They allow you to scale up and scale down. If you don't use it that much, you can scale down your contract. So you go for the hybrid model. If you don't do the initial stage, slightly more price you may have to pay, but that is an option available. Second thing, like Etienne said, before you go to market, the geographies will be different for you. Maybe if there is a person watching your video in X country, that will behave differently. So you may not be sure how it behaves. So you may have to test that product across before you go to market. It can be browser dependent, different versions of browsers. It can be mobile devices, Android and iOS. How does it behave? Depends on your customers. Australia only or New Zealand. How does it behave in US? We have all these things. You can just buy a small component. It costs from live manual test costs around $40 per month. And you can use 250 mobile devices, all the browsers, everything. Not only our product, there are many products available for you, but you need to test it out at least in 80% of your browser mobile before you go to market.
So you have the testing environment that has already been set up, and I can utilize that.
Yes, not only us, we have companies like BrowserStack, we've got other company, Lambda Test. Many companies are there. You go and do a browsing on your product. Before you go to market, you can go and check your product, how does it behave? And then you can take a call on, when to launch your product. Because otherwise, suddenly you'll see that it is failing in some countries and they're not able to access your content.
Yep.
I think so far we've been talking about kind of like static content, right? So when we talk about developing a WordPress site or something like this, it's something that you can easily add a blog or whatever you want, but it's really static content, right? So it's you don't need any custom code for this. I think what you're talking about is going to need a lot of, and then that's why when you use a static content, if you sort it on WordPress, you don't need to worry about scaling because it's hosted. They take care of the scaling. Now, if you're talking about custom computing thing, this is where you have to go on Amazon or on Google Cloud, and you have to rent, so virtual machines. You have to rent storage. You have to rent things, compute all this different stuff. So it gets way more complicated than what we've been talking about right now, right? So I think it's you like.
I have an IT background, so I do understand. I have implemented AWS in cloud through a few companies, and then raised my hands, came out of IT.
Right. All right.
We're done here, Kumar. I think we can give our closing comments and we can move forward. Thank you, guys. Pleasure interacting with all of you. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have anything. If I don't have an answer, I can check with the IT colleagues of mine and come back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Subhash and Etienne, and thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Subhash and Etienne. Really appreciate your
Bye, guys.
help.
Bye.
Bye. See you later.
Yeah.